Life has a funny way of teaching us the lessons we need most. The harder we try to control every detail, the results, the timing, the way people react, the more drained and frustrated we become. We map out our lives step by step, believing that if we just push harder, work longer, and never loosen our grip, everything will finally work out the way we want. But what if the truth is actually the opposite? What if the moment you stop forcing everything, stop chasing so desperately, and begin to trust the process, life starts flowing more naturally? This isn't about quitting or giving up. It's about realizing where your real power exists. The Stoics understood this deeply centuries ago. Once wrote about accepting life as it comes and not wasting energy resisting reality. He knew that fighting against things outside our control only creates suffering. The real challenge has always been internal, training the mind to focus on what we can influence and learning to release everything else. And that's exactly what we're exploring today. The mindset shift that can completely change the way you approach success, relationships, and even your inner peace. Because if you constantly feel stressed, overwhelmed, or like nothing ever goes your way, no matter how hard you try, there's usually a reason. You may be holding on too tightly to things that were never meant to be controlled in the first place. This isn't just another self-help message. It's something deeper. Learning how to move through life with genuine confidence, calmness, and clarity instead of constant anxiety and frustration. And if you stay until the end, you'll walk away seeing success and happiness from a completely different perspective. One where you no longer have to chase everything so desperately. Before we continue, here's one quick favor. If you enjoy this kind of content and want to see more, make sure to subscribe. It only takes a second, but it helps this message reach more people who truly need it. Let's get started. 1. Let go of the outcome. Most people spend their lives obsessing over results, waiting for the perfect opportunity, hoping a relationship works out, stressing over whether all their effort will finally pay off. We convince ourselves that if we just work harder, push more, and stay in control, we can force life to go exactly the way we want. But what actually happens? The tighter we cling to a specific result, the more anxious and emotionally exhausted we become. The journey itself stops feeling meaningful, and our happiness becomes completely dependent on something we can never fully control. That's the trap, and the Stoics understood this better than most people ever will. Believe that suffering doesn't come from what happens to us, but from our attachment to how we think things should happen. One of his most powerful ideas was this: don't demand that life unfold exactly the way you want it to. Instead, learn to accept life as it comes, and peace will follow naturally. In simple terms, stop tying your happiness to a single outcome. Shift your focus toward the process instead. Focus on what you actually control, your actions, your habits, your mindset, your discipline, and release the need to control everything else. Think about an artist creating a painting. If they become obsessed with making every single brushstroke perfect or constantly worry about how people will judge their work, they lose the joy of creating. The process becomes stressful instead of meaningful. But when the artist lets go of the pressure of the final result and becomes fully present in the act itself, something amazing happens. They enter a creative flow state. The work feels natural, effortless, alive. And ironically, that's usually when they create their best work. Life works the same way. In your career, your relationships, your personal growth, and your goals. The moment you stop obsessing over exactly how things must turn out, you give yourself permission to actually enjoy the journey. This becomes even more obvious in relationships. You've probably seen people try way too hard to impress someone. Their energy feels desperate, forced, needy. And instead of attracting people, it usually pushes them away. But someone who is calm, self-assured, and comfortable with uncertainty naturally becomes more attractive. Why? Because they aren't acting from fear or desperation. They trust that whatever is meant to happen will unfold in its own time. That's the real power of detachment. The same thing applies to success. A lot of people believe that if they don't hit certain milestones by a certain age, they've somehow failed at life. Graduate by this age, make this amount of money, get married by this time, reach a certain level of status or success. And when life doesn't follow that exact timeline, they begin doubting themselves. But success has never been a straight line. It's unpredictable. It comes with setbacks, delays, redirections, and opportunities you never saw coming. Sometimes the path you didn't plan for leads to something even better. If you become too attached to one specific outcome, you may completely miss the opportunity life is trying to place in front of you. So ask yourself honestly, what am I holding on to too tightly right now? What expectation, goal, or outcome is creating stress in my life? Now imagine loosening that grip, not quitting, not giving up, but trusting that no matter what happens, you'll still be okay. That's what true detachment means. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop needing everything to go perfectly in order to feel peace within yourself. So how do you practice this in everyday life? Start by reminding yourself daily that outcomes are never fully in your control. The only things you truly control are your effort, your discipline, your attitude, and the way you respond to life. Second, change the way you think. Instead of saying, I need this to work out, start telling yourself, whatever happens will help me grow. That small shift changes everything. It takes you out of fear and puts you into trust. And third, stay grounded in the present moment. The more focused you become on what's happening right now, the less control the future has over your emotions. Most anxiety comes from living too far ahead in your mind. Peace comes from returning to the present. 2. Master your mindset. Life constantly tests us. Some days everything feels easy and effortless. Other days it can feel like the entire world is working against you. But the difference between people who break under pressure and people who grow stronger through it usually comes down to one thing: mindset. The way you think shapes the way you experience life. And if you don't learn to control your mind, your thoughts will end up controlling you. You may not always control external circumstances, the economy, unexpected problems, difficult people, setbacks, or failures, but you always have control over how you respond. That's where true strength lives. The moment you stop reacting emotionally to everything and start responding with awareness, your entire life begins to change. Often called the father of modern psychology, once said that our greatest weapon against stress is the ability to choose one thought over another. That idea perfectly aligns with Stoic philosophy. You don't have to believe every negative thought your mind creates. You don't have to let one difficult moment define your entire life. You can train yourself to step back, see situations differently, and choose a better perspective. Imagine you're struggling at work. You keep making mistakes. Your boss is constantly pressuring you, and deep down you start feeling like a failure. Most people immediately fall into thoughts like, I'm terrible at this. I'll never improve. Maybe I'm just not good enough. That's a fixed mindset, and it keeps people trapped in fear, insecurity, and self-doubt. But imagine changing the narrative. What if instead you told yourself, I'm learning. Every mistake is teaching me something valuable. This pressure is shaping me into someone stronger. That's a growth mindset. And with that mindset, struggles stop becoming proof that you're failing. Instead, they become opportunities to grow. The Stoics believed every challenge gives you a chance to practice qualities like patience, resilience, discipline, and wisdom. Once said that difficulties strengthen the mind just as exercise strengthens the body. Think about that for a second. Every setback, every frustrating moment, every difficult season, all of it is training. Just like muscles only grow through resistance, your mind becomes stronger through challenges. Without discomfort, there's no growth. But mastering your mindset doesn't happen overnight. It's something you build daily, one thought, one response, and one habit at a time. And one of the simplest ways to begin is this. Start paying attention to the way you speak to yourself internally. Are your thoughts constantly filled with fear, doubt, and negativity? Or are you training your mind to recognize opportunities, stay calm under pressure, and see challenges from a stronger perspective? Your mind works like a garden. Whatever you consistently plant will eventually grow. If you feed your mind fear and anxiety every day, those emotions will slowly take over your life. But if you begin planting thoughts of strength, clarity, confidence, and resilience, those qualities will grow instead. Another powerful way to strengthen your mindset is by learning to stay present. A huge amount of stress comes from replaying the past or worrying endlessly about the future. But the truth is, the only moment you ever truly have control over is this one, right now. The next time you feel overwhelmed, stop and ask yourself, what can I do right now that moves me forward? That single question can instantly pull you out of panic and bring your attention back to what actually matters. 3. Trust divine timing. Patience is one of the most difficult things to practice, especially when something deeply matters to you. You've worked hard, you've stayed disciplined, you've done everything you thought was right, and yet, nothing seems to be happening. It's frustrating. Modern culture teaches us that success should happen fast. We're told that if results don't appear immediately, we must be failing or doing something wrong. But life doesn't move according to our schedule. It unfolds in its own timing. And the more we try to rush the process, the more disappointment we create for ourselves. One said that nothing truly great is created overnight. Think about that for a moment. Everything meaningful, wisdom, discipline, inner peace, mastery, success, takes time to develop. You can't force a tree to grow faster by pulling on its branches. In the same way, you can't force life to deliver certain outcomes before the right season arrives. There's a natural order to growth. And when you learn to trust that timing instead of fighting against it, you free yourself from an incredible amount of stress and frustration. Imagine a young artist trying to build a name for themselves. They spend years practicing, creating, improving, and pouring their heart into their work, but recognition still hasn't come. At that moment, they have two choices. They can become discouraged, lose faith in themselves, and quit. Or they can trust that every painting, every late night, every small improvement is preparing them for something bigger, even if they can't see the results yet. The people who trust the process keep going, and eventually they often arrive exactly where they were meant to be. The problem is that we live in a world obsessed with instant gratification. Fast food, fast entertainment, fast success, fast validation. We've been conditioned to believe that if something takes time, it must not be worth it. But the most valuable things in life can't be rushed. Strong relationships take time. Personal growth takes time. Mastering a skill takes time. Building real confidence takes time. And learning patience may be one of the greatest strengths you ever develop. Once said, to do is to be. In other words, growth is found in the journey itself, not only in the final result. When you become obsessed with when something will happen, you stop noticing who you are becoming along the way. But here's the difficult part. How do you stay patient when it feels like nothing is changing? The Stoics would answer that by reminding you to focus on what you can control. You can't control timing. You can't control every opportunity. You can't control how quickly results appear. But you can control your effort. You can continue showing up every day. You can keep improving yourself. You can keep learning, growing, and moving forward. And most importantly, you can trust that what's truly meant for you will arrive at the right time. Not too early and not too late. One of the greatest lessons in Stoicism is learning the power of acceptance. Wrote about accepting the life fate gives you and embracing the people and experiences that come with it. Instead of constantly resisting the timing of life, learn to work with it. Sometimes things aren't delayed because life is against you. Sometimes you're still becoming the person who's ready for what you're asking for. 4. Act with purpose, not desperation. Have you ever noticed that the more desperately you chase something, the further away it seems to move? Whether it's success, relationships, money, or opportunities, desperation creates anxious energy, and that energy often pushes things away instead of attracting them. But when you move with purpose, calmness, and self-confidence, life starts to feel different. There's a major difference between chasing something and naturally attracting it. The Stoics understood this deeply. One said that before you take action, you must first decide who you want to become. That idea changes everything. Desperate actions usually come from fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, fear of falling behind. But purposeful action comes from clarity. When you truly know yourself and understand what you stand for, your decisions become calmer, stronger, and more intentional. Imagine two people searching for a job. The first person is acting out of panic. They apply everywhere without thinking, desperately trying to get any opportunity they can. Every rejection crushes their confidence, and their energy becomes anxious and scattered. The second person approaches things differently. They understand their strengths. They apply carefully and intentionally. They prepare themselves without becoming emotionally attached to immediate results. Who do you think leaves a stronger impression? Usually, it's the person who appears calm, grounded, and confident, not the person operating from fear and desperation. And the same principle applies to relationships. People are naturally drawn toward those who feel secure within themselves, not those constantly seeking validation or approval. When you enter relationships from a place of desperation, afraid of being alone or constantly needing validation, those connections often become unhealthy and disappointing. But when you approach relationships with confidence, self-respect, and emotional stability, you naturally attract deeper and more meaningful connections. People are drawn toward those who feel secure within themselves, not those constantly chasing attention or approval. Spoke about the idea of eudaimonia, a life of true fulfillment and purpose. He believed real happiness doesn't come from endlessly chasing external success, but from living in alignment with your values, character, and virtues. That's exactly what Stoic philosophy teaches. Act with wisdom, act with integrity, act with purpose, and stop obsessing over controlling every outcome. When your actions come from intention instead of panic, you naturally begin making better decisions. You stop wasting energy on things that don't truly align with the life you want. Think about the difference between a beginner playing chess and an experienced master. A beginner reacts emotionally and impulsively, making decisions out of fear or pressure, but an experienced player stays patient, thinks several moves ahead, and acts strategically with clarity. Life works the same way. If fear controls your decisions, you create more chaos for yourself. But when you pause, think clearly, and trust the process, you move closer to the life you actually want. So how do you shift from desperation to purpose? First, get honest about your why. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I genuinely want it or because I'm afraid of not having it? Second, slow down. Desperation rushes, purpose moves with patience. When you stop making decisions from fear and give yourself time to think clearly, your choices become wiser and more aligned. And finally, trust yourself. You don't need to force every door open. When you move with confidence, self-respect, and clarity, the right opportunities often arrive naturally. One said that we often suffer more in our imagination than we do in reality. Most desperation is created by imagined fears. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? What if things don't work out? But the truth is, you're far stronger and more capable than your fears make you believe. You don't have to chase what's already meant for you. Move with purpose, act with confidence, and watch how life begins to align differently. 5. Let go of control. Have you ever felt completely exhausted from trying to control everything? You plan every detail. You overthink every possibility. You try to predict outcomes, manage people, and force situations into place. And somehow, despite all that effort, life still refuses to unfold exactly the way you expected. It's frustrating. The more tightly you try to control everything, the more anxious and drained you become. And ironically, the harder you grip, the more things seem to slip away. But here's the strange truth. Sometimes the moment you finally let go, life begins to flow more naturally in your favor. The Stoics understood this better than most people ever will. One said that freedom is achieved by letting go of everything outside your control. Think about how powerful that idea is. Real freedom doesn't come from controlling every situation, every person, or every outcome. It comes from releasing the need to control them. The more energy you spend trying to manage things that were never truly yours to manage, other people's opinions, the future, the past, unexpected events, the more exhausted and frustrated you become. But the moment you shift your attention back to what you can control, your mindset, your actions, your choices, your responses, you take your power back. Take relationships as an example. Have you ever tried to change someone? Maybe you wanted a friend, partner, or family member to behave differently. Maybe you hoped they'd become more understanding, more supportive, or more aligned with your expectations. But no matter how much effort you put in, they stayed the same. That's because people are not ours to control. We can communicate honestly. We can set boundaries. We can choose who we allow into our lives. But we cannot force another person to change. And when you finally release that need for control, something surprising happens. You free yourself from constant frustration and allow relationships to unfold more naturally. The same principle applies to success. Many people think that if they just push harder and control every detail perfectly, they'll reach their goals faster. But there's a difference between effort and control. You should absolutely work hard toward your goals. But obsessing over every tiny outcome, stressing over timing, and constantly fearing failure only creates resistance within yourself. Once said that fate guides the willing, but drags those who resist. In other words, fighting against life creates unnecessary suffering. But when you trust the process and focus on what's actually within your power, life begins to feel lighter and more aligned. Imagine you're preparing for a major interview. You studied, you practiced, you prepared yourself well. But instead of trusting your preparation, you begin spiraling into anxious thoughts. What if I mess up? What if they ask something I don't know? What if I don't get the job? Suddenly your energy shifts from confidence into fear. You walk into the interview tense, nervous, and disconnected from yourself. And ironically, your obsession with controlling the outcome makes you perform worse. But imagine approaching it differently. You remind yourself, I prepared the best I could. I'll do my best. The outcome is not fully in my control. That mindset allows you to walk in calm, focused, and present, which naturally improves your performance. So how do you begin letting go of control in real life? First, learn to separate what is within your control from what is not. This idea was central to Stoic philosophy. They believed life becomes far more peaceful when you stop wasting energy on things you cannot change. And second, practice acceptance. Not passive surrender, not weakness. Acceptance simply means recognizing reality as it is instead of constantly fighting against it. Life won't always unfold according to your plans, but that doesn't mean life is falling apart. Sometimes the unexpected path leads to a better destination than the one you originally imagined. And finally, learn to trust, not only in life itself, but in your own ability to handle whatever comes your way, even when it looks different from what you expected. 6. Embody an abundance mindset. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to naturally attract opportunities, success, and happiness? It's usually not because they're luckier than everyone else. It's because of the energy they carry, the way they think, the way they speak, the way they see the world. All of it creates a mindset where opportunities flow toward them more naturally. Meanwhile, people who constantly focus on what they don't have often remain trapped in frustration, no matter how hard they work. This isn't just about luck, it's about perspective. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology ever explained it. Once said that true wealth doesn't come from possessing endless things, but from needing less. That idea completely changes the way you look at abundance. Real abundance isn't about constantly chasing more money, more status, more validation, or more achievements. It's about recognizing that your life already contains value, meaning, and possibility in this very moment. The moment you stop living from scarcity, the belief that you're never enough or never have enough, you create space for more opportunities, peace, and fulfillment to enter your life naturally. Imagine two people walking into the same room. The first person is focused on everything they lack. They compare themselves to everyone around them. They believe they're behind in life. They assume success belongs to other people. Their energy becomes heavy, insecure, and doubtful without them even realizing it. The second person walks in differently. They believe they already have value. They trust their skills. They believe opportunities exist for them too. So they speak confidently, connect naturally with others, and leave the room with new possibilities and relationships. The difference isn't talent, it's mindset. One person operates from scarcity, the other operates from abundance. And this applies to far more than money or career success. It affects relationships, happiness, confidence, Even your perception of time. If you constantly believe there's never enough love, never enough opportunities, never enough good people, or never enough time, your mind will continuously search for evidence to support those beliefs. But when you shift your focus, your entire experience of life changes. You begin noticing opportunities instead of limitations. You recognize kindness more easily. You appreciate the present moment, and you start seeing how much already exists within your life. Once said that changing your attitude can completely change your life, and it's true. If your mind is constantly focused on what's missing, your reality will always feel incomplete. But when you train yourself to focus on gratitude, confidence, possibility, and trust, your mind slowly begins creating a completely different experience of life. When you change your focus, you slowly begin changing your entire reality. It's not magic, it's perception. Whatever you consistently focus on grows stronger in your mind. Think about a musician trying to build a career while operating from fear and scarcity. They constantly worry that there aren't enough opportunities, that the competition is too intense, and that they'll never succeed. Every rejection feels like proof that their fears are true. Because of that mindset, they begin playing small. They avoid risks, hesitate to put themselves out there, and end up missing opportunities that could have changed everything. Now imagine another musician with a completely different mindset. Instead of seeing rejection as failure, they see it as redirection. Instead of viewing obstacles as signs to quit, they treat them as chances to improve. So they take more opportunities, they connect with more people, they continue growing, and eventually success finds them. Not because they were luckier, but because they operated from abundance instead of fear. So how do you start building an abundance mindset in your own life? First, practice gratitude. Instead of obsessing over what's missing, start appreciating what already exists in your life. Gratitude shifts your attention from lack to possibility. Second, move through life as if opportunities already exist for you. Carry yourself with confidence. Speak with certainty. Trust that there's room for your success too. And finally, release attachment to outcomes. Trust that what's truly meant for you will arrive naturally, not through desperation or force, but through alignment between your actions, mindset, and beliefs. 7. Take aligned action, then let go. Have you ever noticed how the harder you obsess over something, the more stuck you begin to feel? You work harder. You push yourself constantly. You try to control every detail, and yet somehow it still feels like you're running in circles. It's frustrating because most of us were taught that success only comes from nonstop effort, never slowing down, never stepping back, never letting go. But there's an important difference between aligned action and desperate action, and sometimes real progress comes from knowing when to act and when to release control. The Stoics understood this deeply. One said that patience and steady effort accomplish far more than anxiety and force. Modern culture glorifies endless hustle. It teaches us that if we just push hard enough, life must eventually give us what we want. But true success isn't about forcing outcomes. It's about taking meaningful action, staying open to opportunities, and allowing life to unfold naturally afterward. The problem with forcing things is that it creates internal resistance. It's like pulling aggressively on a knot. The harder you yank, the tighter it becomes. Think about trying to fall asleep. You can't force yourself to sleep, can you? The more desperately you try to sleep, the more restless and frustrated you become. But the moment you relax, release the pressure, and trust the process, sleep arrives naturally. Life often works the same way.